Good day. Today is Thursday, December 1st. I'm Steve Chairman, your interim superintendent, to you, coming from the brick, the SAU office. I was hoping to get outside for some more videos, but a little chilly today, and of course a little wet yesterday. It's a long time ago, I worked in a district that had a 58-word mission, and among that was to instill a love of learning. I try to think a lot about when did I develop my love of learning. I've mentioned in the past that I've been working on my dissertation for my PhD from UNH. This is my first degree that I took on or entered simply for learning. I didn't need it for a job, I didn't need it for a credential. All my other degrees were for a certification, for a credential. And I really entered into a very long process, but was about to learn and ended up learning a lot about how we care about kids in schools. When I moved to from the principalship to the superintendency, one of the driving factors was learning. I'd been in building leadership for 10 years, and I always continued learning, but the learning curve had flattened a little bit after 10 years as a principal, assistant principal in a building. And when I moved to the superintendency, the learning curve became very steep again. And one of the best parts about this interim superintendency in SAU 39 is the opportunity to learn. And that's why I'm incredibly grateful for this opportunity, because I truly do love to learn. I've learned how a multi-district works. I was in a single district for 22 years. Lots of work on SB2 and the default budget process, a cooperative school district, how we use data in a bigger district, how to, something as simple as school resources officer. I had never worked with school resource officers and never worked with social workers, and just how to, on a multi-district, how do you support a new math program? So I've been very grateful for the opportunity to learn, and very privileged to keep the seat warm for the next long time serving, we hope, serving superintendent. So as I mentioned earlier, one of the things that I've learned a lot about is the ballot vote SB2 and the default process. Last week I spent some time with our business administrator, Amy Facey, and our budget development director, Katie Hannon, and they had to give me just a primer about the default budget process. I worked for 22 years, again 10 years as building, 12 years as superintendent, in an annual school district process where everybody, the town, came on a Saturday, as I said, around St. Patrick's Day. Somewhere between 300 and 800 people come and meet, and I knew at the end of that day we would have a budget. A budget committee budget or a school board budget, or hopefully if they agreed the same budget or somewhere in between. But with a ballot vote, because there's not the opportunity to discuss up or down, you need a default option if the proposed budget doesn't pass. And that default budget is in the legislation, right, about SB Senate Bill 2 and how that default budget happens. So what I learned is the key words are the budget. In the default budget, the budget defaults to the last voted budget. That's the key phrase, the last voted budget, which this year we're in FY23, but the last voted budget was FY22. So certain values are held at that level, and that was like, wow, that's really alarming, because everyone would agree, we're in a significant inflationary environment, but our budget values were held at FY22 because that's the last voted budget. And so as we put together the FY24 budget and we're in those processes, I have a sense of urgency about consecutive years of default, because we'd be going into FY24 then with FY22 values, and as I said, in this area of inflationary environment. So love to learn. We'll hopefully be very clear about the impacts of consecutive defaults on not Mount Vernon, of course. Mount Vernon passed the budget, just the Amherst and Sauhegan budgets, but we'll talk about that, and we'll have opportunities to talk about it with more. We do public hearings, and of course the deliberative process where we talk about this pretty thoroughly. But I have really appreciated the opportunity to learn. Now, getting back to that mission and how do you instill a love of learning for kids. So how do you do it? In my world, what I think, you instill a love of learning by providing as much voice and choice as possible. I do believe when you require books or courses or things that can have a tendency to extinguish a love of learning because they're involved in something that they just have no interest. So I will always be an advocate for providing as much voice and choice as we can. We try to do that in adult learning here too, with professional development, because the principles are the same. The more voice and choice you provide for people, the more engaging it tends to be, and I think that is what connects to a love of learning. Hey, thank you so much for your support. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the week, and please take good care.